The first phase is going to be kinesthetic awareness, where we start to develop an awareness of one's own body and mechanics on the court. With that, it ties together with biomechanical development. And we do them repeatedly, so when we do put it together into the compound movement, they've already developed the habit, which is the last phase of the training, and that's habit formation. I suppose something I also tell my athletes is potential is not equal to greatness.
Hey, we want to welcome you to the Next Level Advantage show. Today we have Adam Bromberg from Vegas Volley. We're so excited to connect with you, talk about what you've got going on up there in Vegas and how you're impacting athletes.
Super excited to be here. I support what you guys do, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're so stoked. We love your mission. We've looked up what you do, and we're excited to talk about it again and just keep learning where you guys are in your season, how you uniquely train your athletes. It's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We do the best we can to try and get them to, the highest level they can be at as individuals, both on the court and off the court.
And I think that's what it's all about, is how we feel, that balance between that athlete development side of the person and how they perform. And we know and really are excited to talk to you about how you tease that apart, because it's huge.
It can be challenging because I've been coaching. This is my 17th year coaching, and I've watched as athletes have evolved. I've watched as coaching has evolved. Back when I played, maybe back when you guys were athletes in your youth also, coaches were a lot more militant at the time, right? And I mean, parenting has evolved in that area also. The whole do as I say, no questions asked. And that's how coaching kind of was too. And now as it's evolved, we've kind of found it to be more effective to take more of a teaching strategy, if you will, where you help the kids understand the why behind what they're doing, and you create better buy-in, which creates, I guess, more ambition in the athletes, if you will.
What's an example of that you feel like you guys are doing, that you're seeing that application of that idea?
That's a good question. So like I said, in the old days, you might see something like in volleyball, you got to make 10 serves in a row. Every serve you miss, you're doing 5 burpees. I don't know, I'm making that up off the top of my head, right? Where what I have found to be more effective is a rewards-based system, where if you make it through without missing a serve, you get to choose your warm-up tomorrow and make it a fun game or something like that. And this varies depending on the level of team I'm coaching in a particular season. But something I used to do is the team would have to serve just perpetually for a minute straight without missing. And in the past, it was kind of the old school style where I'd be like, okay, I'd keep track of missed serves. They would have to run a sprint for every missed serve. And one season, I just decided to change it just based on new knowledge and new learning and stuff like that, and tried experimenting with, hey, if you get through this minute and nobody misses, you get to choose your warm-up tomorrow. And that was the first team I ever had that made it through the entire minute without missing a single serve. So I was like, there might be something here, right? So there's that. We have different process goals in competition. So in tournaments, I leverage stuff that they like Starbucks gift cards. And I think it's really important to be process focused versus outcome focused, in the sense that with the Starbucks gift cards, we look at stat leaders, we look at, one tournament I did, whoever is the hype person, whoever brings the most hype and excitement today wins one of the gift cards at the end of the day. Whoever stats the highest in hitting and serving and passing, whatever the skill area may be that we're kind of trying to focus on. So they're really focused on the skill area and developing the skill area and the process that goes along with winning. And typically, if they're pushing to stat higher in these areas, the wins will come.
I think that's huge with your framework of really putting that habit formation and that habit science into practice. And I know that's one of your 3 pillars. And so I feel like you just kind of nailed that. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the other 2 pillars that you guys focus on in your training to really kind of continue this theme of well-roundedness or athlete performance.
In the 17 years of coaching, I kind of developed a 3-phase system that we take the athletes through. The first phase is going to be kinesthetic awareness, where we start to develop an awareness of one's own body and mechanics on the court. And a lot of the reason behind that, and I've asked countless athletes this, I always ask them, the exact same question. I'm like, have you ever been on the court and your coach is barking at you from the sideline, but you're in a convention center with 100 other courts and you have no idea what your coach is saying because it's so loud in there, but you nod and smile because you're a polite young person? 100% of them say yes. I've never had anyone be like, no, I always hear what my coach is saying. Never once. So what I really like to help them develop is this sort of awareness of their own body mechanics so they can self-correct on the court. With that, it ties together with biomechanical development. And that's where we break down the mechanics of playing to a very fine level. It's like iso work, right? Like in the gym where you're isolating a muscle group versus working all of them. So we'll isolate individual skill areas and then combine them at the end. So if we're teaching someone to hit, we break down the footwork, we break down the arm swing, we break down the rotation, the hand contact, just all those different areas of hitting and all the different aspects of hitting. And we do them repeatedly. So when we do put it together into the compound movement, they've already developed the habit, which is the last phase of the training, and that's habit formation. You know, really what's happening is you've done it over and over and over again, where your brain is sort of trained in a sense. And so we kind of combine those three phases together and have seen a lot of success with athletic development.
We geek out on mental fitness. We have a 3-step framework as well, which is the physical body, the mindset, and the thinking part of it. And is similar. So I'm really excited what I'm hearing and the results that you're getting. I'm stoked. It's pretty cool. I think people.
Yeah, three's a magical number. 3 steps.
Yes.
It's not hard for them to remember.
Benefiting tremendously from having you and how you're growing with them and how you're expanding your knowledge and how, you know, the results you're getting are pretty cool.
I mean, I'm glad you said that, because expanding one's own knowledge, I think, is huge, because that's something I share with a lot of parents more so than the kids. But like, I find it a red flag if coaches are not learning and growing and they act like they know everything, because the game evolves, teaching methods evolve. Like I shared earlier, from the more militant style to the more psychology-backed systems that we use now. And society evolves, right? The kids are different. They respond differently to that. If we were to use that old militant coaching style, a lot of them break down. It doesn't motivate them, it breaks them down. So, you know, everything's always evolving. Coaches always have to continuously learn. And it's important when parents are looking for a team to ask those questions. It's a good question to ask the coach, like, what are you doing in terms of professional development?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, if you stop learning, you stop growing, right? I mean, every age has its own different challenges, right? Every kid, every family, every environment. You have a different team when you travel than when you play at home.
And I mean, since you mentioned family life at home, one thing we know from more recent research is that families have a huge impact on an athlete's development. The parents are more impactful on that athlete being successful than even we are as coaches. Coaches are number 2, teammates number 3.
So one of the things we've been talking about with you is that just kind of this idea that we consider ourselves to be generational advocates here, that there's some parts of Gen Z and Gen Alpha that we just really like, and that we want to advocate and let other people know about. So I was wondering if you can kind of give us an example of how that's looking in your gym, or how you're working with this generation and what you're kind of seeing behind the scenes.
That is an awesome question, because thus far we've been kind of chatting about some of the challenges of evolving our coaching and things like that, and the burden it places on us. But you're right, there are a lot of advantages to working with this generation. And the biggest one I can think of that we've been able to implement in recent years, some of it as recently as literally this season, is the use of technology, as they are the tech native generation. And what I mean by that is we have tools at our disposal that help enhance our teaching that we never had in the past. And the biggest one I can think of, honestly, is TikTok and also Instagram Reels, because there are some coaches on there putting out great content. And it does take setting aside our ego a little. And that's what I was talking about don't trust a coach that knows everything, right? We have to sort of set aside our ego in the sense that we have to admit that some coaches explain certain things a little bit better. So as an example, there is a guy on TikTok, I think his name's like the Jump Guy or something like that, on there. And I come across his videos all the time, and he does a really good job breaking down the mechanics of footwork for volleyball players and how to maximize their explosiveness and vertical jump and things like that. And because this generation is so tech savvy, I can send them that stuff. They can take it in, they can learn from us. I can help explain what they learned from that, and we can work collaboratively, if you will, with this online person. Like I said, I think it's the Jump Guy, but you know, there is great content on TikTok and Instagram like that. Then just this season, we implemented a new system, and it is genuinely a new system. It's called Ball Time, and it's an AI video platform that uses athletes' jersey numbers to identify them. And then it breaks down and has an understanding of the different actions on a volleyball court. So as part of our teaching now, we upload the footage to Ball Time, and Ball Time will eliminate all the dead time, timeouts, warm-up time, stuff like that. So you have just the action, and then we can actually filter. So if I have a player on my team, I can search by their name. So if we were talking about the footwork, since we were just talking about that, we can look for this person, filter by attacks, and then we can even further filter errors or successful kill. And it has a comment system. So all the kids get an account. We have the club account. All the kids get an account. And I can leave comments and be like, hey, remember when we were talking about your weight distribution on your feet and how you should be doing X, Y, and Z while you're taking your approach, how these last two steps should be more explosive and faster, how you were broad jumping before, and we want to correct that, but with our plant foot, whatever the case may be, we can comment on a video and be like, hey, check this video out. You did it really, really well there. And they can actually visually see themselves in video format. And this is so far beyond what I was trained with. It's leaps and bounds ahead of anything we ever had. And it's something that's a huge advantage because this generation, we don't have to instruct them on using it. We can just use these tools to enhance our teaching of volleyball without having to teach them the whole process of using the technology in the first place. So they see the value in it too. And they know it, they like it, they think it's super cool. And then it adds a fun element because they can do automatic highlight reels for themselves and post it on their own Instagram channels and TikToks and whatever they do.
Along those lines, I'm wondering, with this shift and working with these generations, is there a place where you're seeing different mental fitness challenges showing up in the environment that are affecting performance or affecting, like we mentioned about confidence earlier?
What I've seen over the years is this incredible arms race. And what I mean by that is it's becoming harder and harder to be the elite athlete because there's always somebody willing to do a little bit more. And where this has evolved, at least in the volleyball space, is that these kids are on the court year round now. They don't get breaks, they don't get vacations, they don't get time off ever. And by the end of the season, we are running into burnout in a lot of athletes who it seems like the majority of them that do need a break are being kind of dragged along into this system by those select few that are, our future D1 studs, our future Olympians, our future professionals. And, it's causing a lot of burnout. And that's been something I'm like, how do you fix this? Because you can't slow down the people that have that abundance of ambition and they just go for it and they don't want to be anywhere except on the court. But the others want to keep up, and it's just, but the burnout is one of the things that I've seen a lot of. And like I said, don't have the answer to. The season's just long. They go from club season to high school season, back to club season, and repeat.
And I think there is a lot of pressure and comparison and expectation that's just different with some of the factors like social media, like you're saying, this kind of arms race to get to the top. I think more people are striving for it. More kids are in the club systems trying to climb the ladder. And I think that this is really, you've identified our passion places. Yeah. How do we help athletes get real-time resets that actually are not cognitive or a huge break all the time, where that baseline of stress, that baseline of performance flexibility is lower and not always on, because that's the downside of the surveillance, the comparison, and the arms race, as you said.
Well, I think that's important to figure out, is how to deal with the mentality of it, because it's something that's not necessarily going away. They're going to see it in real life, because like in college admissions process, once upon a time, if you just had some good grades, a decent GPA, you got into college. Then all of a sudden you needed standardized testing scores to be at a certain threshold. Then that wasn't enough. So you needed volunteer hours or to hold an officer position in a school club or have work experience, and you always needed something more. As this person did this much, this person had to do that much more to get into college. And so where we're seeing that in sports is the same thing. Like if you just play high school sports, you're not going to college for that sport. You got to be in club, you got to be year round. Now that's not enough. Now the kids have to hit the weight room and get strong and bulk up, and they have to be in better physical shape. Now that's not enough. So mentality training comes into play now to give yourself the mental edge.
We have this number called the MFT. It's your mental fitness target. And it's like, how much mental fitness do you have to do in comparison to your physical training? Not even talking about competition, but we know as coaches that if you're trying to reach a certain level, there's so many hours that you got to put in just on the physical, just on the gym or on the track, that you have to develop your body in order to be elite at that level, right? You got to have a certain speed, you got to have a certain height jump, you got to have a certain stamina. But at the same time, your mental fitness is going to carry you there, or it's going to kick you, it's going to kick you right out. So that's what we train. We train 10% of your physical training to focus on your mental fitness. Like you say, your habits is like just putting in little by little increments on how to get back and forth to you be in the zone, right? It's a long journey. It's nothing that you do quick. It's the same thing. It's like when I tell people, it's like, it's going to take some time, because think about you being an Olympian and you want to deadlift 800 pounds. You're not going to just grab a bar and lift 800 pounds. So you can't start training like Kobe Bryant mental fitness training and say, I'm going to do 10 hours a day on mental fitness. Like, it's not going to happen. So why don't we start with your 10% of whatever you're doing? Because your training is going to increase. And as your training increases, your mental fitness time will increase. But that will keep you balanced. That knows that you probably can't start practice without doing some mental fitness, some mindfulness, some checking in.
What I really like about that is the internal self-reflection, because what I have also found in the situation we're in, where these kids are just going year round, nonstop, high level of stress, everything like that, overuse injuries have gone through the roof.
Exactly.
They are working themselves too hard.
Well, and what we say is honestly, the physical body is breaking down because the mental body isn't being paid attention to. So eventually there's going to create a break one way or another. And so there really is this connection between mind and body that we know based on the neuroscience. And like Ray said, it's like, how do you put in and prioritize the mental fitness reps that are going to keep you physically ready, emotionally ready, so that you can keep going after your goals. And it just feels like a lot of athletes are kind of missing that piece. And he mentioned the mental fitness target, and we really feel like it comes to three things, like having the right coaching, having the right tools in the right moments, and then putting in reps. And it's the same thing for, like, that you're breaking down on those biomechanics and those habits. It's like we're the same work on the internal. Do you know that part of you? Do you know how to hack it so that you get better results?
Yeah, and I mean, if I can even add one to what you said, because you listed off a few suggestions, parent awareness, I think, is also really important too, because teenagers, we know, they're still kids, right? They're young adults, but they're still kids, and they don't know everything yet. I think parents also should be aware of their kids' stress levels, their workload, their capacities, and things like that, and be the one to maybe step in sometimes and be like, hey, you know what, like, you need a day off.
One of the things that I found in working with college students and college athletes was this idea of planned downtime. It was like a foreign concept, and they just know the Netflix crash and burn, and like, I'm just gonna lay on the couch for 5 hours and hope that I reset. It's like,
I do that.
Yeah, a lot of the American nervous system is kind of templated for that, and then we've kind of normalized it. And so how do we create those real-time resets, those little breaks in the system, so that it's not on or off, but rather, this flow of both? And sometimes it is, the recipe is, I need to unplug and have some downtime. And sometimes it's like, can I have spot checks throughout my day and make it a little more sustainable? We tend to kind of ignore those needs that we have, or not know that we even need something until we come into the mental fitness arena and start to realize kind of what's really going on, and that there are solutions that can create the results you're really after.
Yeah, I think the hard thing for an elite athlete is to slow down. When you know you're elite, when you know you're reaching your next level, you're gonna increase your workload. Like, that is the hands down. That is the first stress. Is like, okay, I'm leveling up and I am gonna make this level. And there's that competitive mindset that is like, I can't slow down. There's no way I can't slow down. I'm going to fail if I slow down.
Right.
I'm going to lose a position if I don't take an extra rep or so on. And the key that we'd love to continue mentoring, I mean, I do this every day with myself and with athletes. And the key is, can we check in with your physical body, with your mindset and your thinking? How are you doing today? So Adam, I love asking this question. So think yourself back when you were 16 years old. What advice would you
Long time ago.
Yeah.
We won't do math.
What advice would you give yourself if you were talking to Adam right now, 16 years old? What would you tell him?
Oh, that's such a unique and interesting question, because it's something I think I would like to tell current athletes too. What I would probably tell myself is to act with more of a sense of humility when you're on the court, because volleyball is the ultimate team sport. It's, you know, in a game like basketball, you could have one superstar that just controls the ball, right? In volleyball, you literally can't. I would definitely tell myself, be a little more humble and do more to make your teammates better. Because when I, in my adult life, have learned about the great players that we all idolize and worship, specifically Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, no, different sport, yes, but you know, the thing that they're both known for is spending their entire careers with their team through the ups and the downs, and they made the players around them great. And that's the sign of a truly great player. When I was a teenager, I was not a great player, no matter what my stats said, because I had no sense of humility and I wasn't doing anything to better my team. I was too focused on myself. And I'm totally making myself seem like a douche. Hopefully people that listen to this and watch the video, hopefully they understand that I'm sharing this to show an evolution, right? And how to learn from errors I had in my past as a player for their kids, or if the athlete's listening, for themselves. But you know, and where it all came full circle, what I was talking about earlier, is where the record finally got broken. One of the guys finally did break it. Well, first it was in a 5-set loss, just like mine was.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, told you, like, you don't win by having one player like that, right? But then it came full circle, because he came up to me after the match. He's like, Coach, you gonna go home and cry now? And I was like, why? And he's like, I broke your record. And I'm like, I love that. He's like, really? And I was like, well, I knew somebody would have to break it eventually, and I'm glad that it was you, because who taught you to hit? So the cockiness snuck out a little bit there, but I'm like, if someone was going to break my record, at least it's somebody that I taught to do it, right? But yeah, that was kind of a funny moment. But like I said, I think overall humility, right? And focusing on the team rather than yourself as an individual, and focusing on yourself as an individual to an extent, still okay. Because if you have personal goals and things like that, of course, work towards them. If you want to make that transition, become a college level athlete, yeah, you got to focus on your own individual training a little bit. But, you know, colleges are also going to look for team players.
Yeah.
So include that as part of your development. I suppose something I also tell my athletes is potential is not equal to greatness. Potential means you can achieve greatness, but you still have to work towards it. And so that would be kind of the other thing, I guess, is 1, be humble, and 2, potential is not equal to greatness. You know, make sure that if you have the potential, you're working to achieve that greatness and putting in the hours that it takes.
We are talking about Gen Z, Gen Alpha athletes, how we help them.
Sure.
Of course, there's parents involved here, parents listening to us and enjoying the content. Any advice?
I hope y'all are listening, parents. Sorry, I cut you off. What was the question?
Yeah.
No, you're good. Any advice you have for parents out there, parents of Gen Z, Gen Alpha athletes, elite athletes that are looking to go to the next level, going to college or going to pro?
Oh my gosh, let the coaches coach. Wait, did I say that with too much enthusiasm?
No.
No, sorry. I'm saying it because
Yeah.
I don't want to offend any parents, but like, really, that's something you're going to hear from like all your coaches, right? Is let the coaches coach, because here's the thing. We have training and background and expertise in how to teach the skills of the game. We also have training and expertise in how to balance out the criticism with the compliments and maintain that balance. And the thing is players, they expect to hear criticism from their coaches. Something I've observed over the years is parents, you guys play a different role in your kids' lives than we do. So while they expect criticism from us, they see you in a different light. What I shared at the beginning of the podcast with Dr. Donahue's research about parents being the number one influencer in an athlete's success, I think that's the best thing I have for parents is just remember that you play the singular most important role in your child's life, and you always will.
And what I want to add is the same thing as coaches. We're better together. So crowdsourcing the skills that we don't have as parents or that we weren't taught, finding people that can help our kid learn those things, or finding resources that we can share so that they can find and adopt these systems, I think is the key. It's like we don't have to have all the answers alone. We're better together. There are people out there that are the right fit for your child and the skills that you're trying to instill in them.
What you're talking about with crowdsourcing and supplementing your own expertise with other people's expertise and stuff like that, I would also share with parents, there's literally no shame at all in therapy for your kid, right? So I will, for the sense of transparency and stuff, I'll share, I go to therapy weekly, and it's not because I'm mentally unstable. It's not because there's something wrong with me. It's because it is somebody that has helped me in various areas of life, like interpersonal communication and how I deal with the challenges in my business and my organization as Vegas Volley, right? How I deal with challenging situations with my athletes, right? It's deferring to someone's expertise in that space and having somebody to talk to. So having an objective third party has been huge to get me to see things differently. Really, there's no shame in it. And I think that the taboo is alleviating, but it's still there a little bit.
There's so many resources now for athletes and folks to access. And I agree the taboos are going down, and the openness to these new needs and alternative ways of getting it. For some, it's 1 hour a week sitting with a therapist. For some, it's a mental fitness program that, they get to learn and have support. For some, it's going and joining a men's group. Like there's so many different ways. And I think that's the key that I'm seeing is there's a higher need for Gen Z and Gen Alpha to have these resets because of the way that their internal worlds have been shaped, and there's less resources being utilized that really are very simple tweaks that create huge shifts in their well-being.
Again, life skills through sport, because I've heard this, I listen to various business podcasts and things like that, and a lot of those experts in those space that have had a lot of success with their businesses, they talk about something very similar about like focus on the people and the profits will follow. So it's same thing, in sport, the win is the profit, but the work you put in is how you earn that profit. So it's like focus on the work, the wins will follow.
It has been so awesome connecting with you and just hearing your wisdom and what you're doing for your athletes. And
is that what they call what's floating around in my head? They call it wisdom. All right, I got to start using that.
Yeah, I that's what I call it. I think
I got to start using that now. My wisdom.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I'm of course I like to joke around, but I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Is there anything that you want to share with the audience, like places that they can look into Vegas Volley, anything else that you want to share or let our listeners know?
So our website is just vegasvolley.com. That's got all the information on our program. It's got different bios on our coaches, some of the accomplishments we've had with our athletes and things of that sort. On Instagram, it's Vegas_Volley. And that's pretty much primarily where we are. I mean, we have a TikTok that is just Vegas Volley without the underscore, and also Facebook that's Vegas Volley without the underscore.
Thank you for being an advocate for this generation and for being a proponent of mental fitness and physical skills at the same time. And just keep. Thank you.
Of course, thank you guys.